Hey, great big world out there. How are you? Welcome to the last Saturday in Mental Health Awareness Month. We are on Saturday, May 31st, 2025. So how are you guys doing out there? We made it another week, y'all. Another 7 days we made it. So depending on if you had some highs this week, some lows this week, ups and downs, don't worry about it. Let it go, because you made it to another day. Somebody else can't say that, but you made it. So we're going to be thankful for that, and we're going to thank God that you are still standing and that you made it. We are also still celebrating May's birthdays. So if you had a birthday in the month of May, happy birthday. We are also still celebrating our graduates and our students that are going on prom. Congratulations to all of you. You have made it. You are embarking upon a new journey in your life. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep God first, always. Hey, Reverend Pastor Cool E. Porter, how you doing out there? Hey, Shayna, how you doing out there? Before I jump into today's show, do understand when I say we are going to have an amazing show. Like, we are going to get it in just like we did last week. Speaking about last week, I would like to spend a minute to say thank you to McClinton E. Porter, CEO of Maximize This Life, pastor of Revival Outreach Ministries International, for coming out last week and just not only sharing his passion for his calling, but a passion just to help people, for giving us the breakdown of coaching versus therapy, for telling us about the mind itself, but in order to focus on what translates in the mind, you have to start with the heart first. Hello, Vince. How are you? Thanks for joining today. So we definitely want to say a special thank you to Pastor McClinton E. Porter. If you watched the show last week, he did say he was giving out a 20-minute complimentary session only if you're able to answer his questions. Now, the trick is, in order for you to know the question, you got to watch the show. That it is what it is. You got to watch the show. It's 2 hours of information that you are going to walk away with a new understanding and a new belief. Just go watch it. I know the acronyms from what he said, but I watch the show every day because I'm learning from it every single day. If you missed it and you cannot see it on my live, don't worry. I will share the YouTube link. If you have not already subscribed to the YouTube page, please do so. Please like, love, share, and comment also the Facebook page. During this month, hey Benita! During this month, I have learned so much about health, mental health, finances, and just an abundance of mental health awareness that I was not aware of until I started doing all of my research, right? So the reason why today's show is so epic is because we always look at therapists and we look at our doctors as males. At least maybe 60% of the world does, because that's all you see is males. But today on this show, we have not only a licensed psychotherapist, and I'm going to tell y'all what that means too. I had to do some more research. But she's a female, and that stands for so much. So I'm very, very, very excited about the show. And it's another highlight that I'm going to tell you about the young lady, but you got to wait till after the show for that. But like, I'm just super, super, super ecstatic about today's show. So, also with today's show, it's a little different because throughout this month, I've been talking about mental health awareness how it affects our finances, how it affects us as a whole, how it affects adults, and some of the things that we go through, like anxiety, depression. But today, we're not only focusing on mental health awareness and how it affects your finances, but we're going to dig deeper into it, and we're going to talk about how it affects adolescents. I mean, children. And that's something, because you think of a child, what can you possibly be going through? But to my understanding, they go through a lot. And so we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on trauma. We're going to touch on disorders. We're going to touch on grief. Like, it's just so much that we're going to talk about today. I can guarantee you, every show you learn something. I know you do, because I do. And because it's Anointed to the County. Why not? Anyway, but I just know that this show is going to be grand. So to my audience and my listeners, you all are very aware that I kind of do things opposite. And what I mean by that is, if you're at a ceremony or if you're at church or an event and you have the MC come on, the MC highlights all of these accolades about the individual that they're going to be bringing in front of you. Well, I do it the opposite. I introduce the individual, and then I highlight all of their accolades, because I want you to see the individual that we're talking to. I want you to get a feel for them and their personality and who they are and what they stand for. And that says a lot. So, again, I just want you all to get your pen and paper, get your phone, any notes. Feel free to tag in and ask questions, comments, whatever you feel free of doing. But I'm not going to keep y'all waiting, because like I'm over here tap dancing in my shoes. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm super geeked. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my featured guest, Kenitra M. Williams. Hello,
everybody.
I know y'all happy, because I'm
not understanding why you're so excited to see me. But hello, everyone. Hello.
What do you mean? Did you not hear what I just said? You are a female.
Yes, I heard you.
In this industry, you are and you're touching on a lot of subjects that I wouldn't think that would need to be touched on. Like, when you think of when Shavonna thinks of children, she thinks school teacher, pediatrician, parent, definitely not therapist. When you think of trauma, Shavonna thinks physician, PCP, which is your primary care provider, not the actual drug. Just for those who are watching, I know the difference. You think of a close friend or a family member, medication that's prescribed by a PCP. You don't think therapist. So no, that's why I'm super excited. I got a female. What? Yes. Okay. So let me give you some of these spotlights about Miss Kenitra. A, she is a woman. Bam. B, she is a licensed clinical social worker. She is a psychotherapist. She specializes in therapeutic services that mainly focus on anxiety, depression, life transitions, trauma, and more. I'm not done. It goes further. Kenitra has a Bachelor's of Art in Psychology with a minor in Ethnic Studies. Kenitra has a dual degree, master's dual degree of Science in Child Development, and a master's being a social worker. She's a full-time mother, and she's a minister of music. That list can go on, but I'm going to stop right there. So my question to you is, Kenitra, that's a lot. I just said like a paragraph. That's a lot. How do you keep up with yourself? Like, I know me. I'm busy, and I have to have this calendar, that calendar, this sticky note, that sticky note. I know calendars and sticky notes and notification reminders are your best friend. Have to be.
They are.
They are.
They are. Sometimes a lot of this stuff I've been doing it for so long, so it kind of is just like automatic to me. But as I'm getting older,
and wiser.
And wiser, I have to do things a little bit differently to keep up with some of the things that I do have going on. So so calendars, sticky notes, I write stuff down all the time. Like right now in my kitchen, my table is full of papers with different notes on them so that I don't forget what I was thinking about when I go back to it. So, yes.
I can only imagine because I got sticky notes in my office everywhere. I got reminders that come up that I have set daily. I have notes just posted randomly, so if I go in my bag, it's a note that, oh, I needed this. So, wow is all I can say. So, I told y'all I was going to express to you, hey, Tootie! I told you all I was going to express to you psychotherapists. So, what my research told me was that a psychotherapist uses talk therapy to treat people for emotional problems and mental illnesses. I want to stop right there. So it sounds very, very, very simple when you're saying talk therapy. That just means that I can have a conversation with someone and all their problems are gone.
No.
But I know it's deeper than that.
No, it's not. Some people think that. Some people come in and they think that. They come in and they say, can you fix me? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can do that. But we can figure something out. So yes, it's way deeper than that. And I think a lot of people think that that's what therapy is. You come in, you talk to somebody, and then that's it.
Yes, absolutely. Because in my mind, if I'm coming to you and I'm telling you what's wrong, just like my PCP can fix it, you can fix it. So it shouldn't take that long. We got, 60 to 90 minutes. I need you to get it fixed. Now, if I have to come back a second time, fine. I'll even give you 3 times because the third time is a charm. So that third time, I should be completely fixed. But upon my research, as a psychotherapist, you perform assessments and diagnoses, you create treatment planning, and you help promoting personal growth as well as helping a person with their day-to-day well-being. So that's more than just talking to a person.
Yes.
Whoa.
So therapy is work. Now, I'll put it like that. Therapy is work, not just for me, but it's work for you. If you come to see me, I'm going to make you work. It's not just you coming in and you telling me what's wrong. I give you a solution, and then you go on about your business.
But why not?
Because that's not how things work. And life is not that simple. If life was that simple, then you wouldn't need to come in and talk to somebody. You could figure that out on your own.
But sometimes having a conversation with myself will not direct me in that direction since I need to talk to someone.
As you just said, having a conversation is not that simple, right? Whether it's with yourself or whether it's with somebody else, it's not that cut and dry. It's not that simple. But no, therapy is work. And in order for therapy to actually work, you as the client, you have to be willing and ready to do the work. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. You got to be ready to, peel back some of these layers. You got to be ready to talk about some of the things that you typically don't talk about. You have to be ready to confront some things. You have to be ready to also receive whatever it is that therapist has for you to receive. So it's not all about you coming and talking to the therapist, but it's also about the therapist being able to give some things to you as well, and you being willing to take those things and reflect on them and utilize them to the best of your ability.
So you said something that just really triggered me, and you said that you have to be vulnerable. You have to come in and open up and tell you some things. And I say that to say that in my practice, in my business, especially when I'm dealing with a new client, I say that same thing. You have to be vulnerable. You have to tell me things that you don't tell your partner. You don't lie to certain people, meaning you don't lie to your pastor, your priest. You don't lie to your attorney. You don't lie to your physician. And you don't lie to your accountant. Because all four of them can work collectively to help you. So now I got to add therapists to that, because the way that they relinquish to a pastor or a PCP or even an accountant, we're doing that same thing with a therapist. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, and I would imagine a lot of those things and those relationships that you share, it comes with trust, right? And when you have a therapist, so a lot of people that I've been working with them for a few years now, and we've developed a relationship, and we have developed a level of trust from them and also from me. But the trust part is so important, because that is saying that I'm coming in and I'm trusting that you are capable of handling whatever I'm going to give you. I'm trusting that you are capable of seeing me, you are capable of hearing me, you are capable of understanding me, and you are capable of providing the support that I'm looking for in a therapist. Now, on the flip side of that, as a therapist, my trust is I'm trusting that you're coming in and you're ready to do the work. I'm trusting that you are also open to hearing me and to seeing me and to understanding what I'm going to share with you as a therapist. So, in order for therapy to work, you got to do some work, and you have to be open to not just giving but receiving whatever it is that you're going to get from that therapeutic relationship.
Whether I agree with it or not.
Whether you agree with it or not. So a lot of times I have to tell clients things that they don't want to hear. But because we have a relationship of trust, they trust that what I'm telling them is not wrong, or it's not judgmental, or it's not to shame them. But it's purely coming from a place of, okay, this is somebody who is a part of my support system. This is somebody who actually wants to see me better. So I have to believe what they're saying and take what they're saying and at least reflect on it, even if I don't agree with it.
And that's that extra layer that I got to pull off.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't agree with things because we're not ready to pull back that layer, or we're not ready to acknowledge that part of ourselves.
And you're telling the truth wholeheartedly. You are telling the truth. And Reverend Porter is my witness. I was sitting for a couple sessions, and one of his comments to me was, Shavonna, you have to be ready to receive. And no matter if you agree with it or not, you have to be ready to receive it. And I know I'm not going to receive that because I don't want to, because it don't make sense to me. And until I get the answer that I want, I'm not going to receive it. And he respected that. He respected that. So as I got older and I reflect back, it's all coming together as it should, because you have to give to get. So in order for it to make sense, if I'm telling you something and I'm trusting you with all this, then quite naturally I got to do some type of work behind it.
Yep.
No doubt. I love it. So now y'all see why this show is so epic, like it's going down today. So I want to start off by saying, like, we're going to talk about your initial starting point. We're going to talk about your initial journey. And it's a 3-part question. So my question is, at what point did you decide to go into the medical industry? Because therapy falls up under that medical umbrella.
Well, it's not recognized as that, though. You know that? It's not considered a medical thing as it would be like a heart disease or something like a stroke or cancer. But mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. Sometimes even more important, because a lot of times things manifest in our minds.
I learned that last week.
Yeah, things manifest in our minds. It's funny, I was just having a conversation with someone, so I gave them the example of anxiety. So a lot of times when people experience anxiety, they experience physical symptoms, meaning they may have heart palpitations, they may get stomach aches, they may get headaches, they may get tremors. There's nothing physically wrong with them. It's the anxiety. and the anxiety starts to drive all of those physical things. So a lot of times people experience anxiety and they're having these things and they go to the doctor and you know what the doctor tells them? We can't find anything wrong with you. We don't know why your stomach hurt, or we don't know why you are having these heart palpitations. And a lot of times it's never considered that it's a mental health reason that's causing those things. So we got a little bit more work to do to get mental health into that realm of being an actual medical thing, because a lot of people don't see it that way.
I would definitely think it should fall up under that umbrella because you're dealing with the mind. Your heart and your mind go down, you down. And when you're dealing with anxiety, as you mentioned, and of course they go in, they run all these tests, they may not have any answers, but what I've seen is they're quick to give you a prescription.
Well, it's a business. Pharmaceuticals is a business.
They can title that a business, but we can't treat mental health under the medical umbrella. We got a lot of work to do.
But they can take your money.
They can.
If they give you those pills. So
they can.
okay. That's okay.
They can. So, how did you narrow it down to a social worker and a psychotherapist? How did you narrow that down? Like, you started this journey, you realized that it's not identified under the medical arena, but you still stuck with it. But you branched out and you went into social work and psychotherapists. So let's talk about that. How did you start that? Why those two particular industries?
Well, I would say, based on my experiences growing up, and I've always wanted to do something. Initially, it was like I wanted to do something with kids, which is why I got the master's in child development. So I wanted to do something with kids. But I also have a passion for helping people. So how do you marry those two things together? You know, so you get social work. So essentially, social work is being a person that is compassionate about the social, right? So the community, doing things to bring about justice, doing things to bring about resources, doing things to bring about change. And so for me, as I was growing up, like, yeah, therapy. Who goes to therapy? Not little black girls, not little black boys, not black women, not black men. They go to the church, they pray, and they figure it out, right? Like, if you're going to see a therapist, oh, it must really be something wrong with you,
or
right?
You're crazy.
Or
you're
crazy,
labeled.
right? So that is something that I didn't really have a ton of experience of seeing or hearing about, but I also seen the issues that were just even within my community, like the issues that people were experiencing, issues that I've experienced in my own life. And as I was going through college, and like I would hear other people talk about things that they wanted to do. A lot of people that didn't look like me, so of course it's like, oh yeah, like yeah, of course you would want to do that. Like, why not? You know?
That's a no-brainer.
So a lot of it was me like figuring out like, okay, where do I fit in the world? Like, how do I, like I said, marry these things together? Like, how do I merge that? What path should I take? So I went to undergrad, got into grad school, did pick the dual programs. Like, okay, well, so I should be able to find a job with this. Like, it's 2 masters. Somebody will give me a job. I'll figure it out after I get out of school. So I still really didn't have a clear picture of what I wanted to do. While I was in grad school, I almost dropped out of grad school because I was like, yeah, I can go find something else to do with my life. Like, this is a bit much for me. Like, is it, do I really need to do all this? Again, being in a space where a lot of times I was the only person that looked like me. So that was also difficult. I went to school in Chicago. I went to grad school in Chicago, one of the most diverse cities in the world. But a lot of times I showed up in class, nobody else looked like Kenitra. So that was also a struggle, and just really trying to figure out like, okay, like what am I doing? What do I want to do? Still really didn't know. I just knew I like kids, and I knew
that you like helping
and
people.
I like helping people. That's really all I had. That's all I had. So it's time to graduate, time to get out of school. I'm like, well, I probably should look for a job, right? So I was working at my church for a while doing the daycare, and I also was working at a residential facility where we served as youth that were taken away from their parents. And they were between 5 to 13. So I worked with young kids. So that opened up my eyes to so many things. Because as you can imagine, these children had been through so much that I could never imagine going through, even as an adult. So getting that experience, learning about different behaviors, learning how mental health does affect children. You know, a lot more than we think, as you stated earlier, a lot more than we think. In different ways, it might not look the way that it looks when it impacts an adult, but it's definitely there. So that opened up my eyes to a lot of things. So then I stumbled upon another job because I was like, okay, I actually need a job that's going to produce some money. So stumbled up on my job that I work at a nonprofit called Facing Forth to End Homelessness. So I started there as a case manager, again, working with individuals and families that have experienced homelessness. Again, another arena, another thing that my eyes were open to, and like really just seeing the different ways in which things impact people. And you can have two people that's experiencing the same exact thing, but how they respond to it, how they navigate it, how it impacts them will be completely different. So again, another eye opener. So I just kind of started going down that path, and working at Facing Forward, I have gained so much experience in just being able to touch so many people through different walks of life, and being able to learn from them as well as them learning from me, right? So was working at Facing Forward, I still worked there, but it still was like, okay, I need something else. Like, I need more, and I love people, I love helping people, I love talking to people. I just love people talking to me and like just learning about people. So I was like, okay, well, what's next? Like, what's next? Like, I think I could do this. I think I could do this. I think I could do this on my own. Like, I'm able to talk to people. I'm able to help people. I'm able to give people things that will actually benefit them. So what is that next step for me? So came to doing therapy. Like, after I got my license, came to doing therapy. And initially when I started.
Wait, what do you mean doing therapy? You went to school?
No more school. No more school. Listen, school is over, okay? No more school.
No more school.
No more school. So I sat and I took the state test to get my license, which is how I became a licensed clinical social worker. So I got my license, started looking for a job, doing therapy. Once I figured out, like, okay, like, maybe this is the thing. Got my license, got a job as a psychotherapist. I work at a private practice when I started. So I did therapy before, like, while I was in school as an intern. And a lot of stuff that I was doing already had therapeutic attributes to it. I just wasn't an actual therapist. So started doing therapy. I thought I had no idea what I was doing. Like, people would come in and they would leave out. I was like, oh, what did I just tell them? I hope I didn't tell them nothing that made it worse. Like, I hope, so it was definitely a growing pain. And it was, especially when I was working with people that didn't look like me. So a lot of times at the practice that I work at, a lot of times I was getting clients that didn't look like me. So a lot of stuff that they were bringing to me, I wasn't necessarily able to fully relate to. So it was like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, why you just can't figure that out? Like, why are you talking to me about that? Like, that used to be like some of my thought process around, like, okay, like, maybe this not the thing for me. Like, I don't know. Like
my mindset was coming in.
Do I need to go back to the drawing board, right? So Then I started getting more clients that were people of color because they were requesting a person of color, and unfortunately at the time, like, I was one of the only people of color at that place, so a lot of those people came to me, and I found my footing, and I've been there for a while. I love what I do. I love the work that I do. It's challenging. It's not just people coming and talk to me and me listening or me talking to them, but it is work. I'm always researching, always reading, always trying to find things that are going to benefit the people that I work with, learning things that they are bringing to me. If it's something that I don't know about, I'm always telling them, like, I don't know about that, but let's both of us do some research on that. Let's come back, let's talk about it, let's figure out like how this may be beneficial, or maybe maybe this is not the thing for you. So that's how I got to therapy and been doing it for a while, and I love it.
I can tell that this is such a passion for you, the way you talk about it, and some of the things you're saying, it's like, wow, like this was a growing pain, but you found your sweet spot. You found it, and you're in it, and you are amazing at it. You're amazing. So when I introduced you, I talked about your specialization in anxiety, depression, life transitions, trauma. How did you focus on those 4 areas? What made you go to the tree branch and pull those 4 branches versus anything else you could have pulled? Why that?
So those things are honestly things that people deal with day to day. And a lot of times they are not seen as those things because what happens is we get used to moving through life in the state that we're in and not really realizing that, like, oh, life can look a little bit differently if I did some things a little bit differently, or if I acknowledge some things a little bit differently, right? So a lot of times what you hear is like, oh, that's just me. Like, that's just how I am. Like, no, you're not a naturally sad person. Like, that's not how you were designed. You know? You're not a naturally anxious person. That's not how you was designed. God didn't design you to be that way. Right?
Because we're created in His image.
He didn't design you to be sad every day. And not saying that that's the whole of depression. There are many nuances to that. But, again, like, these are labels, and what I strive to do is help people understand that that's just that, a label. It's giving you some information. It does not mean that that's what you are or who you are. But we can do some work to pull back some of those things, right? So, like, depression, anxiety, those life transition pieces, and even trauma. Again, like I said, like, these are things that people deal with all the time, and a lot of times don't even know that they have had such an impact on their lives and how they relate to the world around them, how they relate to themselves, how they relate to others, and why they see things the way that they see things, and why they do things the way that they do things.
And as you mentioned, a lot of times we forget about it. We sweep it up under the rug. We try to forget about it. And if it's out of sight, out of mind, we don't think about it. But those other factors come up with the tremors, the stomach pains that you have, and now you're sitting here depressed and you don't even know why. So now you got to find the cause root of that. That is work. That's a lot of work. Even saying that is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and it's draining. Like I said, you have to be willing to do that work, and sometimes some of these layers we peel back will get us to a root cause that we thought we buried a long time ago.
Yes.
Or we thought, oh, I thought I was over that. Like, I thought I got through that. Like, I thought. No.
It's there. It's
you
there.
You just learned how to live life with it. That's all.
Instead of bringing it to the forefront and learning how to deal with it and accept it.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. That's a lot for a lot of individuals. You're asking me to deal with it. Then you want me to accept it and still be me. and sometimes that can be overwhelming depending on the person and the actual situation.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So back to college, because I just love college, and again, I too went to a college, and in my class it was just two of us. And for a while I would come back and tell my mom, I don't think enough black people or people of my color know about this school. That's gotta be the only reason, because it's some people of color go here, but I don't think they know about the school. Or it wasn't that. Maybe they don't know about the program that they offer it. So now I wanted to get into bringing that light to the community, but I had to take a step back and be like, wait a minute, it's a reason why. Okay. And then when the light bulb went off, I was just like, wow. Let me learn what I can. Let me put forth what I can. So school became an outlet for me. Mm-hmm. It was so much fun. I cannot wait to go back to school. You said it's over, yes, but I think you'll go back. I think you'll go back.
We done with that.
You didn't like the homework?
God has not dropped that in my spirit. We done. He didn't say, Kanisha, this what makes on your path. He didn't say that.
He didn't say that?
Mm-hmm. No, he didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I haven't encountered a lot of people that have received a dual degree. I know school itself is a lot. Homework is a lot. Posting to the discussion board is a lot. Theories, all of that is a tad much. How did you manage that with a dual degree, and did you find it challenging?
Yes, it was challenging, but what I would say is the two schools that I went to, so this was a program that they had been running for quite some time, where they gave people the options to do this program. So they had it mapped out pretty well, where it didn't have to be overwhelming if you didn't allow it to be, mm-hmm. right? So a lot of times I would go to one campus, and then some days if I had class at the other campus, I could just walk right over. So they were not far apart at all. A lot of the things that we were learning at the two schools went hand in hand. It was easy to, apply those things together. It was easy to kind of figure out, like, oh, okay, like this, I learned this at this school, but this over here means this over. So it's like seeing the things come to life was really easy. And then you had a cohort of people that you were actually moving through these programs with as well. So that was also really helpful to have like that core group of people, like, okay, like, exactly what I'm dealing with because you're doing the same thing, right? So being able to find community in that. And then also for me, I was at that time more of like, again, to myself, I'm going to figure it out. Like, I ask you a question, but for the most part, I'm going to figure it out on my own. So I kind of did my own thing as well. But knowing that I had that support system, or knowing that I had this group of people that were also experiencing the same thing that I was experiencing was also helpful. So it was challenging in the sense of like sometimes just being at two different schools and them having like two different philosophies sometimes, like that kind of was challenging. In one school where I got my master's in child development, that school was much smaller. So the classes were definitely way smaller, more intimate. But then when I went to Loyola, the classes were huge, and there were a lot of more people. And some of those people, again, were not doing these same programs that I was doing when I went to Loyola. So they didn't have a level of understanding of certain things that I may have had an understanding of. So it was a balancing act sometimes, but if I had to do it again, I would, because I actually enjoyed that challenge, and I enjoyed having those two separate experiences that were the same experience at the same time.
That complemented each other. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you saw the greater aspect of it, and you learned and was able to connect the pieces from both. And I think that's so awarding, especially when you're in school. So like, I tilt my hat to you. I salute to you. Congratulations. I see school in your future.
I need you to stop saying that. We're gonna strike that out of the video, okay?
Okay, so let me ask you. During your course of school and your work, did your journey have any effect on you mentally? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Yeah, a lot. In grad school or just school in general?
We can talk about school in general.
So,
where would you say you found it most challenging, where it just boggled you more so than anything?
So I would say in undergrad, like starting undergrad, and then also again like toward the end of grad school. So undergrad, I went to a school in Appleton, Wisconsin. A lot of you probably don't know where that is, but that is out. It's like right by Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I got a scholarship from through my high school to go to this school. So I went there. Again, wasn't a lot of us that went there. The black community was very small. The town, well, it was a city, but I'm going to call it a town. The town was very small. Really no black people were there in the town. Very slow paced. Very different than what I was used to. But I had got the scholarship. There were some girls from my high school that also went there, but again, it wasn't that many of us. So I had got the scholarship, so it's like, okay, well, Kanisha, figure it out. Like, just figure it out. Go through the 4 years and figure it out. So undergrad definitely was a period of figuring out who I was, figuring out who I wanted, what I wanted in life, where I wanted to go, where I seen myself, and also just like, how do I fit in the world around me? So that was challenging to kind of figure that out. And then at some point, like, I started to develop into more of accepting, like, me as a leader. Now, this is something that, like, has been on me my whole life, but I don't think I ever really looked at it that way until I started to get older, until I went to college. But seeing me as a leader, I had a group of young ladies that also came from my high school, but they were like a year or two under me. So being able to kind of help guide them through this process, as I know they were kind of culture shock when they came there as well, and like understanding, like, here we are, these girls from the west side of Chicago.
Whoop whoop. West side is the best side.
In Appleton, Wisconsin. Again, I don't know where that is. So you understand what I'm saying. So
I
do. Definitely a culture shock. Definitely will rattle you if you didn't have support. Definitely would break you if you didn't have support. So yeah, so that was challenging, but also I look at that and see it as a growth period in my life as well, because I made it through. Despite how challenging it was, I made it through. Then got to grad school. Things were fine for the most part. I did almost drop out just because I just felt like whatever, I don't need this. Like, I could just go get a job and be fine. But God had other plans, so I stayed. But in the midst of grad school, like toward the end of grad school, I got pregnant, which is
yay,
came from somewhere. I don't know.
Yay!
So that was definitely a surprise and a shock to me. Because obviously I wasn't planning that, but. So without a plan, there is a plan. I had a counselor that used to tell us that all the time. So I didn't have a plan to do that, but apparently, because I was doing other things, there it goes. And that's why, that's why you need to keep yourself, okay? Young girls and boys, keep yourself, okay? Keep yourself. But, yeah, so I ended up getting pregnant. I stayed in school. I didn't stop. So I stayed in school. Right before I graduated with my second master's, my father ended up getting sick. And my father, as I knew him, was no longer that person. So that was definitely a struggle, trying to figure out now like how to support him, but also support my grandmother, who was the main person taking care of him at that time, because I was in school, I had a baby, and just like kind of seeing him be this person that I really didn't know anymore was really hard. Like he couldn't speak, he really didn't have any language, he couldn't speak. Just certain things that he would do was like, you could see that mentally and cognitively, he just wasn't there. So that was a huge struggle. So he was able to come to my first master's graduation. So he seen me get my first master's. He was fine then. Maybe a year later, when I got my second master's, he was in a hospital. So he wasn't able to come. Graduated, got my second master's. As soon as I left the graduation, I went straight to the hospital just to sit with him, show him that, even though he didn't fully understand, what was going
share
on,
that moment with him.
or even in that moment, fully who I was, I wanted to make sure that he knew that I accomplished this thing. So those are a few challenges that I would say that I had while in school that definitely challenged me personally, but also challenged me spiritually. Because in this time too, as I said, getting older and trying to figure out who I am, trying to figure out where I fit in the world, I had to start leaning on God more. I had to really develop my own relationship with Him. I had to really develop a prayer life. I had to really start to do things a little bit differently that would align more with what He had in store for me, even though I didn't really know what it was at the time or really had an understanding of it, but I was willing to take that step and work on growing my faith and work on developing a deeper relationship. I talked a lot to my pastor, who's also my godfather, just trying to get some help, trying to get some clarity, trying to understand, why certain things are the way that they are, why certain things have to happen the way that they happen. But again, if I had to go back and do some of these things again, probably would do them the same, because
you learned.
And that's part of my story.
Right. And it's, you accepted it. And everything that we initially talked about with therapy, when you mentioned you have to be vulnerable, you have to open up and receive, as well as take information back. You were in the midst of that and didn't even realize it at that moment. And that is your story. And I wouldn't suggest you do take it back and do things differently, because you have a testimony after that. And that's good. Somebody needed to hear this. I did not tell you how this show was going to be good. We have a comment. Am I pronouncing it right? Quentin says, Dr. Kenitra M. Williams. I second that. Yes, doctor. You're going back to school. That was confirmation.
That's not.
It is.
Somebody write a comment. Don't listen to it. Don't. Delete that.
No, we can't delete that, Dr. Williams.
Okay.
So, I think you have a beautiful testimony, a beautiful start, and to be a mother, to specialize in 4 different areas, to go to school and not just get a bachelor's, but you got a bachelor's and 2 masters. Then you have a state board license. That says a lot about you and your growth, and you held on to God. That says a lot. It says a lot. And I commend you for that. This is phenomenal. So as you're going through life, and you're grown, you're on your own, you realize you need work. Of course, because nothing is free. We have to go out here and get a job. So, as a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist, do your roles complement each other?
I would say so. So are you talking about my role like professionally and then personally? Am I like
Both professionally, like you being a social worker and a psychotherapist,
Yeah.
do both complement each other?
Yeah, I would say so because, I mean, they both challenge me to see people and to see people where they are.
So you meet people right where they at.
Yeah, and it's not my job to judge where that person may be. It's not my job to change where that person may be. It's my job to meet them where they are and to help them figure out, okay, this is where I'm at. How do I navigate this space? And if I want to move differently, how do I do that? Or if this is where I am, how do I navigate this and still be who I am in this space if this is where I'm going to be and I'm not ready to change that?
I like that. That's great. That's great. So now, since you mentioned personally, do you see your work as a social worker and psychotherapist in your life personally?
Every day. Sometimes I wish I could get away from it, but my mind is automatically in that mode of like, I'm about to therapize you because what is wrong? Like, okay, let's figure this out. Okay, you say you got a problem. Okay, what are the steps you need to do? What have you done already? Why are you feeling that way? Tell me a little bit more about that. So sometimes I have to try to take that hat off and be like, okay, Kanisha, that's not what they asked for. They just asked you to listen, right? He just asked you to be his mom. He not asked you to do his therapist, okay? So yes, every day these things show up in my life because this is just who I am naturally. So I think the professions complement who I am as a person.
And it's hard to break away from that.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I could. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I can't be your therapist today, okay? Like, I've been at work doing this all day. Like, I can't. But I also will say that it helps provide me with a different perspective sometimes when I'm in certain spaces with people who I care about and who I love. So, because a lot of times when you care about someone or you love someone and they're going through something, what you do is you get right in that thing with them.
You do.
You get right in that thing with them, and you're not very helpful because you in the thing with them. So they crying, you crying.
Right.
They scared, you scared. But being in this profession and having this skill set, it does allow me sometimes to be able to pull myself back and try to look at it from an outside perspective and say like, okay, how would I handle this situation if I was talking to a client, right? Or like, how would I help them navigate a situation like this with their child? Or how would I help them navigate a situation like this with their mother? Like, what would I do in that situation? Because it keeps me grounded sometimes and not getting overly emotional or overly emotionally invested in a thing because people don't need that all the time.
Sometimes they just want you to listen.
Yeah.
So I can see how it can be combative. I can definitely see. I can definitely see.
And with a child, especially with a child, because I work a lot with kids, and so having my own child and like seeing him do some of the things that I may be helping another child figure out, it's like, well, I'm your mama, so I can tell you what you need to do versus, okay, I'm not your mama. So we gotta do this a little bit differently. Like, let's slow this down. Let me be more understanding. Let me be more empathetic. But then, like, no, I'm your mama. Like, you need to just do this, and that's it.
Just take your word because you know best. That's
so
right.
Yeah. So also like figuring out again how to find that balance in things is sometimes challenging.
I can see that being a social worker and having family and friends and trying to separate the two. I could just see a friend calling like, girl, I just want to talk, and they say something that'll trigger you, and now you're in social work mode, and it's like, I'm still your friend, but I'm listening for those key terms. I totally understand, like, 1,000,000%. Oh, wow, so I can see. Now, as far as your work is concerned, is it more difficult for communities of color to get mental health professionals who understand the culture, experiences, and can provide culturally to their sensitivity? Is it hard? Is it difficult? Is it challenging?
It's hard to find. So we're out there. It's just hard to find sometimes. But it's also difficult for people of color to want to tap in to mental health services for a lot of the reasons that we mentioned before, especially like with faith communities and mental health being seen as a thing that's kind of stigmatized and shunned, especially in the Black community. Or I'm not even gonna say Black community, but even other cultures and ethnicities that I work with, mental health is seen as this thing of like if you're dealing with that, it's something really wrong with you, and that doesn't belong in this culture, right? So first and foremost, we have to destigmatize mental health issues. I'm not gonna call it an illness. It's like, and everybody at some point deals with some type of mental health issue, right? So mental health has to do with your mind. So at some point, everybody has a thought. Everybody has a feeling.
Correct.
Everybody experiences something that's unlike their normal selves that can be considered a mental health issue or a mental health crisis. So people of color, and I feel like we are seeing an uptick of people being more willing to tap into mental health resources in these communities, but that's definitely one of the barriers. Like, people of color have to be willing to talk to those people. And again, like you said, it's hard to find clinicians of color, especially in the city. And then you have to also think about insurance. You have to think about what location they're at. You have to. So there are also a lot of things that go into that, and that sometimes deter people from not seeking mental health support.
Correct. And I'm just sitting here as you're saying that. It brings me back to your initial conversation when we started at the beginning, when you said, we'll go talk to our pastor, or we'll just say, oh, that ain't me. So that's where we lean to our support system, because, like you mentioned, insurance is a big one. And assuming that you can afford that PPO where you can go where you want to go, now you're stuck within this network. So can they find someone who can really help me and cater to me? I doubt it. So no, I don't want to go. So not only am I running away from it, there's also still that stigma that's attached to it. Like you mentioned, if you see a therapist, something is wrong with you. And it's really not. Maybe this is one person that is so unbiased that I can have a conversation with, that I know that at the end of the day, regardless if I'm paying my money or not, I am not going to be judged.
Yep.
So, yeah, we have to destigmatize that, because it's so needed out here for us to be able to have someone to talk to. You may want to talk to your friend or your family member or even your spouse, but sometimes they can't give you that answer that a therapist can potentially give you, correct?
Yeah. Because a lot of times those answers are going to be biased, right? So if I'm coming to you and I'm talking about my relationship, you automatically going to be on my side because you my cousin or you my auntie. So you're going to feel however I feel, right? Even though I may be completely wrong in how I'm handling the situation and how I'm addressing the situation, a lot of times we default to just being on the person's side. And a lot of times people go talk to those people because they just want somebody to be on their side. Now, therapist...
now a therapist...
I'm going to be on your side. But being on your side doesn't mean that I have to agree with what you're saying or what you're doing. Being on your side means I have enough respect for you to share a different perspective and challenge you to do something better because I know you can be better.
Say that one more time for the people that's listening. I don't think they caught that. I did. I like that.
So being on your side means that I have enough respect for you to tell you and share with you a different perspective because I want you to be better and I know that you can be better.
Yeah. And it's also challenging for that person because if you have that person that you can go talk to that's unbiased. Look, I'm on your side because I love you. But you're wrong. You should not have done that. At all. Period. You're wrong. You need to go back and reevaluate some things. And not too many people like to stand up to their friend or their loved one and say that. So you just go ahead and say, well, okay, yeah, you broke into that store and took all the chips. That was okay. You probably needed to eat at that point. No, that's not right. That's not helping the situation. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I learned a lot this month. I learned a lot this month. So for people of color, it is kind of difficult because I myself, even when I'm looking for someone to talk to, I want to work with my people. Someone I can understand. Someone who knows the struggle. Someone who can step outside of the box and put themselves in my shoes and say, I understand. Although I understand, don't mean that it's right. Let's look at it from another perspective. And I tilt my hat to you, young lady. I swear I do.
So let me just share something about like when you're looking for a therapist, right? So a lot of people don't know, especially if you have an employer that provides it, but most employers do. So there is something called an employee assistance program. So EAP, a lot of times they provide you with free services, free resources. So one of those resources is therapy. So for some providers, they will provide X amount of free sessions. That can be your opportunity to utilize those sessions to get connected to a therapist or to kind of shop around a little bit if you need to, and you don't have to pay for that.
Because it's free and it's provided through the job.
And also with EAP, any person in your household can also utilize that as well. So again, like these are free services that a lot of us don't know about. A lot of us don't ask about them, even when we know that they're there. But it's something to think about because therapy can be expensive.
What is it though?
This is true, but a lot of times we will forego certain things even if we need them. Like again, mental health is important, and you might need to seek these services, but because of the price, you don't want to, or you choose to do something else, right? So there are things out here that you can utilize to kind of tap into some of these things without breaking your pocket.
And that's good to know because a lot of companies do offer that, but if it's not publicized and it's not spoken about often enough, then some employees won't know about that service that's there. So they're dealing with this, whatever it is that's going on in that mental space, and they don't know that they can get that free help right then and there. So that's good that you mentioned that. Like, if you're with an employer audience out there, you don't have any insurance, like tap into those EAPs. It's very important. Go to HR or payroll, ask them about those services, and trust me, they want to help you. That's what it's designed for. Now, back to you, Miss Dr. Williams. That's what the comment said, Dr. Williams. In communities of color, what barriers are most common when facing mental health?
Recognizing when something is wrong.
Would you say that's one of our biggest barriers?
Yes, because historically, we are people that kind of just get through things, right? Historically, we figure it out. Hey, we were slaves, right? Like, so
right. We got through that. We can get through anything.
Right? Like, we figured it out. So eventually, somebody had an idea, and we ran with it, and we figured it out, right? But but all jokes aside, like historically, being a black person, you do like you just try to figure it out, or like you push things away because you feel like, okay, I don't have time to focus on that. I don't have time to be sad. I don't have time to have anxiety. I don't have time to have a mental break right now. I gotta keep it moving, right? So that would be one. Access to resources would be another. Quality resources, I'll say that. Access to quality resources. And it's not to say that we don't have resources in our communities, but a lot of times the resources that we have lack the funding that is needed to actually be quality and to actually service us in the way that we need to be serviced. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but faith is also a barrier.
Come on through here. Yes.
As I mentioned earlier, church and mental health typically are two worlds apart. But it's so important to understand that they are not separate. They are not separate. Your faith is important, right? And being in a community of faith, you shouldn't be shunned or you shouldn't be talked about because you're experiencing a mental health issue, right? Like, it's not just about prayer. It's not just about reading your Bible, right? Faith without works is dead.
That's right.
So I can't say I believe that God will change my mental health if I'm not taking a step necessary in order to make that happen.
Because you got to believe it.
Those things are mutually exclusive, right? So, yeah, I would say faith is another big one, especially in the Black community. I would say other communities as well, because there are other communities that may have religious practices that also do the similar things toward mental health and demonize mental health, right? So when a lot of churches, especially Black churches, will say, you don't need a therapist, all you need is Jesus, right? Like, all you need to do is go pray. All you need to do is, you're not spending enough time in your Bible. You're not spending enough time praying. But what if I'm on my face every day and I'm still battling in my mind? What do you have to tell me then?
My pastor would say, go get help. I know that's what he'll say. Or he'll say, like he told me, well, Shavonda, that's above my pay grade. Now, I can help you find somebody to talk to. Yeah, so you got to have that honesty, though, coming from that pastor.
Yeah, and a lot of spiritual leaders are not equipped in this realm, right, to be able to also tackle those mental health things, right? Like, yes, they can pray for you, they can guide you through some scriptures, they may be able to help you find some resources, but can they speak directly to that issue? And like understanding those signs, looking at those symptoms, right? Because unless they're a mental health provider themselves, right? But like a lot of times, spiritual leaders don't have the know-how to attack some of those things.
And so
in the physical, not in the spiritual, but in the physical realm.
And that's why they revert to what they know, which is prayer and scripture.
Yep. Right, and
there's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that, but maybe they aren't where they need to be to say, look, hey, that's above my pay grade. I can't help you there. I can coach you through some things, but let me send you to somebody who can. And you made a valid point. Like, thank you for making that point. Oh my God, thank you for making that point. That was so valid, so valid. And I'm still talking to you about communities of color because it's important in our community. And this is what gets looked past and gets swept under the rug. What percentage would you say struggle with finances and battling mental health of the color people of color? Just it doesn't have to be exact. What do you think a percentage is?
I would say probably between 50 to 60%, honestly. If you're thinking about communities of low income, so that's primarily what my mind went to, because that's a lot of when working at Face and Forward, that's a lot of the population that I work with, people of low income, and you see a couple of things, right? Like the lack of income impacts the mental health, but also the mental health impacts the ability to increase that income.
And that's
right.
why we talk about finances, because if you're not right mentally, how can you go to work? I'm not going to pay you to come to work and you can't work.
Yeah. Or like even just mentally not having the ability to know that you need to go to work in order to have some of these things that you want.
Because it can affect you that deeply.
Yeah.
Where it takes over and suppresses that thought process. And so now you're just stuck.
Yep.
Well, and you said 50 to 60. I was leaning more towards 75. How do you handle a client? And we were just speaking about this. So how do you handle a client who needs more assistance than what you can provide?
Get them connected to other resources, right? But also being honest with them and letting them know, you know, that. So this is something that is not in my wheelhouse, right? But you know, I'm still here to support you. I'm still here to help you figure out like what does this other side of care look like, right? Like what else do you need? Like let's figure that out, because that's part of my job as well. I don't want people to think that when they come to me, I'm gonna have everything that they need. I don't want people to think that, right? Like I don't want people to think that they come to me and I have this magic wand that I'm gonna wave over them and then everything is gonna be okay, or everything is gonna be changed, or everything gonna be fixed, right? Like no, I want people to know that okay, like this is a piece of the puzzle that I'm working on. Okay, when I get this piece, now what's next? What else do I need to add? What else do I need to do to make this picture whole?
And that's a lot. And you're saying that, and I'm smiling and laughing because a big percentage of us feel like if we go to a therapist, you can wave this wand and fix us. Just like if I go to my PCP and I say, I have an ache, you can fix that. There's no reason you can't. Pull out your wand, say whatever you have to say. Even people go to their ministers like I did. I went to my minister, especially after I lost my mom. Why? You need to tell me why. And I know you know why, because you stand next to God. Right. You definitely gonna have the answers. So tell me why. Like pull out that wand because I know you can do it. So the fact that you say that, that's what we look for, because it is something wrong. So we're coming to you because we want it fixed. And the way that you broke it down made so much sense. I'm working on a piece. We're going to tackle each piece at a time. And it's going to take some time. And I'm not doing it by myself. You're going to interact with this to get you better.
Yeah.
And that's so phenomenal. And I think that when it's broken down like that and explained to individuals like myself, it's easier and more receptive to step out and look for that therapist that we need just to fix that piece, because that piece can start so small but grow so gigantic.
Yeah, and honestly, that's part of my elevator pitch. When the first time I meet someone, the first time somebody comes to see me, that's part of my speech. Like, this is going to be work. I don't have all the answers for you, and if that is what you're looking for me to do, I am not the person for you. But if you are willing to work, if you are willing to challenge yourself, if you're willing to learn, then we can get started.
I like that. And y'all see why this show is so epic today? A female. Oh my God, I'm excited. So we done talked about your journey. We done touched a little on your work history. Let's talk about your experience. Because we done already talked about it, to be honest, but we're going to dig just a little bit deeper into it. When it comes to your experience and work, how do you handle situations where clients resist treatment? Even though that's your elevator speech, how do you handle them?
With honesty, acknowledging where they are, asking them, is this something that they're ready for or willing to do? If not, are they willing to do the work to get to the point where they are willing to do some of the work? Because it's also, therapy, again, doesn't have to be this one-size-fit-all thing, and it doesn't have to be this thing where you come in immediately and you're ready. Because I've had several people that I've been working with for quite some time now, and they start and they like, yeah, I don't really believe in therapy, or I don't think this gonna work, but I'm gonna give it a try. And guess what? I've been working with them for years, and that story that they tell now is very different than that story that they began with. So it's meeting people where they are and being honest with people. And I tell people, like, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to make you do anything. I'm actually riding in your car. This is your car, and I'm a passenger. Okay? So you tell me where we going. You tell me.
So it's putting the pressure back on them.
And it's not pressure. It's the responsibility.
The responsibility.
Like, this is your life. And if you're coming to me to say, like, I want to see something change or see something different in my life, okay, cool. What we doing about that? But if you coming to me and you saying, I want to see something change and different, and you need to tell me what I need to do,
then you're not that person.
I'm getting out the car. I'm getting out
Because that's
the car.
not your
I'm
space.
going to go stand over here. Like, if you want to pick me back up when you ready, like, I want you to think about that. Drive around a couple of times. Think about it. When you ready, you come and talk to me. And I tell people, too, like, I will have the same conversation with you over and over again. Doesn't bother me. But eventually, I'm going to say to you, like, okay, we've been talking about this for 3 months. What are we doing? I don't give answers. I don't give answers. I don't give solutions.
You give honesty.
Yeah, and I tell people, you know, when we come into this room, this is not where work happens. Like, we brainstorming in here. We trying to figure some things out. We piecing some things together. The work start when you leave.
Now that is an eye opener, because a lot of people assume when they come in there, like we spoke, that magic wand, I'm healed, and now that I done talked, and I done opened up, and I done relinquished all of this information to you, now the work is done. It's not. It doesn't start until you actually leave.
Because what you going to do when you go out there? We can come up with all the things in the world. You can be nice to me, because I'm not triggering you.
It's the world.
Right? I'm not putting you down.
Yes, yes.
I'm not causing you anxiety. When you leave here, what are you going to do?
Wow. And that says a lot. That definitely says a lot. That says a lot. Okay. What is your experiences with different populations, meaning different age groups, ethnicities, etc.?
So the youngest I've worked with is 5. The oldest, somewhere in the 60s. So
that's a big gap.
I've seen a range of people. I see a range of people. Individuals. I work with couples. I work with families. So yeah. So I'm kind of.
You kind of open to all.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Ethnicity, age, nothing. Your background.
An old person used to be a child before, so you know. The connection is there. The connection is there. Like I said earlier, a lot of times we experience similar things. They just look different based on the phase that we're in our life. So
now, in mental health, narratives are the personal stories we create to make sense of our experience. We create a story or individuals that we can identify, like an alter ego, right? So, like, when I'm at my low, I'm this person. But when I want to break out of that shadow, I've created this dominant person that can take over my personality and say and do what I can't do because I'm terrified, right? So dealing with that as far as mental health is concerned, how do you help your clients accept that that's just an ego and you yourself can do that?
Well, first we have to understand the function of a part of ourselves.
Okay.
Right? So that function may be your protector. Right? So you have to understand, okay, what is this part of myself providing to me in certain situations? Is that something that I can provide without this part of myself, right? Or not? And if it's not, how do I have this part of myself in a healthy manner? Because a lot of times these parts don't show up until things are dysfunctional, until things are unhealthy. Right? So it's not bad that we have these parts at all. It's not bad that we have these parts at all. Because I have to be somewhat of a different person as a mother than I have to be as a sister or a daughter, right? So parts is a natural part of our makeup. It's a natural part of who we are. But it's important to understand the function of those parts and if you are interacting with those parts in a healthy manner.
That's a great way of looking at it. And if it doesn't benefit you, if it doesn't help you, is it hard to see a client resistant from trying to relinquish that because they feel like that's the only thing they have to hold on to? Because it's trust there. They've built trust with this alter ego. So does that make your job more difficult?
Sometimes, if I am going into it with the mindset of, okay, like that's not serving you, so we need to change that, it is going to make my job hard because I already have an agenda and I have a solution in mind. But that's my solution. That's not that person's solution, right? And like that's not how they see it. So I then have to take a step back and meet them where they are and try to understand what is this to them. I have to understand that. And sometimes they might not even understand. So that's where we go back to like my role as helping them understand these things as well. Because once they maybe say some of these things out loud or start to unpack some of these things, it may be a moment in them where it's like, oh, like I actually don't need that thing. I can do this instead. Mm-hmm. And this is a way better way to get that need met than me doing this thing over here. So, you being a therapist, you also have to be vulnerable, right? Like you also have to be open to being challenged. You also have to be self-aware because you can be triggered as well. And you can jump into the mode of fixing. You can jump into the mode of thinking you know what to do, or you can find similarity with a person and be like, well, this is how I handle it. So just do X, Y, and Z, right? And again, like I'm not an advice giver. Like that's not what I'm doing. I'm not a solution giver. That's not what I'm doing either. So you also have to be able to restrain those parts of yourself as a therapist.
Because you got to take a step back at this moment.
Yeah.
It's not about you. The progress and the process is not yours. It's that person's. So no matter how much you think that may work, you still got to draw that fine line.
Yep. And
right?
then what I tell you, I'm the passenger. I'm not the driver. I am the passenger. So I'm on this journey with you. You're not on this journey with me. You pick me up along the way.
And I'm just gonna fix those pieces that need fixing.
Yeah, however long you need me to be in this car with you, that's how long I'm gonna be in this car.
That is amazing. And that's a good way of looking at it. Like your pitch is so phenomenal. It's not about me, it's all about you. And telling the person that they look at things differently because now it's the spotlight is on me. It's all about me. How can it not be about me? And that's a good way of looking at it. I'm going to be here for as long as you need me to be here. I'm not going to leave until you put me out your car. That is a phenomenal outlook. Like, I love it. I love it. Okay, so I understand. I understand. Now, in mental health, I watch a lot of TV, right? When I can. And Law and Order SVU is one of my ultimate shows that I can watch every day. And I see a lot how it takes time when they're dealing with someone between the ages of 2 and 10. And I see how the therapist may come in and it takes this child so long to open up or to talk. Maybe they've lost the feeling to talk, so now everything is written or in a form of artwork or paintings. My question is, when you're dealing with children from 3 to 10, how do you deal with grief adjustments, disorders, and traumas when you're dealing with them? How does that play a role? Because now, it's, as you mentioned, it's different from a child versus an adult. So how do you tap in to that child?
So one, and you're probably gonna hear me say this a whole bunch more times before it's over, but you have to meet them where they are.
But that's a child.
They still are somewhere, right? So as a child, one, it's my responsibility as an adult to understand the context in which that child lives in. That's number one. You have to understand that context in order to understand that child and what they're bringing to you in therapy. You also have to understand that kids don't typically talk like how we sitting here talking. They're not gonna do that. They gonna say random stuff. Then they might say something serious. Then they gonna say some more random stuff. So it's also being in tune and attuned to that child. Finding out what that child likes. So if that child likes to sit and play cards, you know what I'm doing in my session? We playing cards the whole session.
Even if they don't say anything?
Nope. The whole session. That's what we doing. Because, back to that trust, I have to build a level of trust with this child in order for them to know that I am a trusted adult, right? So a context in which they grow up informs how they interact with the world.
Got it.
So if they are in a context where a lot of the adults in their homes are not trustworthy, why are they going to trust me? If they're in a context where they have almost like an enmeshed relationship with the adults in their home, they're going to try to have that type of relationship with me. So in those situations, we have to talk about boundaries. We have to talk about rules. We have to talk about roles, right? So it depends on where their child is. You got to meet them where they at. You see what I'm saying?
Now I see where you're getting at.
You see what I'm saying? You have to meet them where they are.
I wouldn't have thought of it like that. I would not have. And I guess maybe because I don't interact with children like that, so I would not have known. Would you say that it's that more girls gravitate towards you or more boys?
I'd say a mixture. I've had a mixture. So it kind of just again depends on. Like I said, I'm that therapist that if I need to sit on the floor and play with you, I'm gonna sit on the floor and play with you.
So you have no problem meeting that kid at that.
No, if we gonna sit in color, we gonna sit in color. And honestly, kids are easier to work with than adults.
No,
because kids are gonna be honest. Kids are going to give you the unfiltered truth. Okay?
Give me some examples. Give me some examples.
Kids are going to tell you, okay, did Billy touch you? No, Billy didn't touch me. so and so made me say that that person touched me.
That kind of truth.
Kids are gonna be honest. Kids gonna say what they want to say. It may be a consequence to it later, but guess what? They're gonna be honest. If they feel like they can say it to you and say it to you in confidence, and there's like some confidentiality, then they're gonna share it with you.
But they gotta build that trust.
Yeah. Cause kids can feel, kids can see, kids can pick up on spirits. Sometimes, again, way quicker than we can.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of this I see, and again, because Law and Order works with a lot of children, and it's like, wow, it took them almost the whole episode for this one child to say something like, "Open your mouth and talk."
Yeah, well, and again, like, it just depends on that context. It depends on what that child has experienced, you know. When I was working in the group home, we had these set of twins there, and everything that they had experienced it together, right? So if one of them was having some issues, guess what was gonna happen? The other one was gonna have some issues, right? And it took most staff, like all the staff that was on their unit, it took us a very long time to like actually crack the code to these kids, because it was very combative. They were very resistant, you know, and a lot of it too was they were still had visits with their mother, so you don't know what she's telling them. So again, it's just context and like how do you break down these barriers, but with consistency. They knew what to expect with certain people. Things were predictable for them. They knew where the lines were. There was structure. And I'm going to say it again, consistency. Whether that's consistency in how you show up for them, consistency in the type of structure you're providing for them, it is a consistent presence in their life. Once kids see that, you know what started happening? Oh, they were phenomenal.
And they're gonna talk.
They were phenomenal. They were talking more. They were engaging more. They were not combative. So, working with kids is work, but again, honestly, to me, it's sometimes easier than working with adults.
Okay, so since you said that, is it more difficult dealing when we talk about trauma, when we talk about grief? Is it more easier to deal with a child than it is an adult? Because, and I ask that because, and I'm in my learning stage, right? So just the other day, having a conversation with a very good friend of mine, Lachey, and she mentioned that, you know, people grieve differently. And in grief, you grieve not just the loss of someone, but you grieve who you used to be, because you're not that person anymore. You grieve the ability to change and do something differently because you're moving differently. So that's no longer a part of you. So how do you deal with a child that's going through all different stages of grief? And they're a child. Do you find it more complex?
Sometimes, because a child doesn't grieve like an adult. Sometimes it takes a child longer to realize that, this person is gone. Right? Like, so, an example would be, so I'll use my son as an example. When my grandmother passed, it took him almost a year to start having some like reaction to that, and like to start clicking like, oh, like she really not coming back, like I'm not gonna see her no more. So we started to see different behaviors, different feelings, and I was a little puzzled. I'm like, what is wrong, you know? And so when he, like, as talking to him and he said it to me, I was like, and I do this all the time. So in my mind, like, it didn't click, right? I'm like,
because you in parent mode.
I'm like, okay, like that makes complete sense now. Like, I get it. Like, okay, I can work with this. Like, I get it now. Okay, I get it, right? But so again, like, it just depends on that child's level of understanding, first and foremost, of grief and loss, right? And so for younger kids, it's a little bit easier because they're younger. They may not even remember this in the next couple of years. Like, they know that person gone, but they may not fully remember, like, what happened or that person died or whatever, you know, or if that person died, it really didn't affect them like that. So as kids get older, I think it can become more difficult because that's where, you know, we start forming these lasting relationships, these bonds with people. So for a lot of kids, if you are connected to this person and then all of a sudden you see people leaving, that can traumatize you. That can traumatize you in the sense of, for some people, as they grow older, they no longer want to develop deeper connections with people, or they don't know how to develop those connections, or if they are in relationships, they show traits where they are constantly trying to sabotage those relationships out of fear. You see this when people become adults. So if people are doing that as an adult, most likely something has happened to them as a child
That
led to that.
Okay. Wow. See, I didn't know all this about children. So you see, y'all see why this show epic today. Do y'all understand? Like, this is, whoa. Okay. So now I get the concept. I understand the concept better now. Because I would think it would be so much more difficult to deal with a child versus an adult. Because an adult, why would they have to lie? They're going to tell you everything. No. No, you're the third person that said that, so I know it's true.
No, because adults, we figure like, okay, like, I get to control what I say, what I share. Mm-hmm. So adults gonna manipulate the situation, and a lot of times, as I said earlier, people want people to be on their side. So I probably can't tell you the full truth, because then you're not gonna be on my side.
You're right, because they're already coming in there with an agenda, whereas a child isn't. It's, I don't know you.
A child is there because their mama or their daddy brought them there. So,
okay, now that I am learning, I don't know about you, audience, but I'm learning. So, you use the word consistency, you use the word context, and I know that a vast part of that has a lot to do with communication. No matter if it's verbal or nonverbal, right? So my question to you is, how do you communicate effectively with clients, families, and other professionals as a social worker?
So I'll start with families. So typically, if I'm working with a child, I make sure that I am trying to engage that family as much as possible. Because 9 times out of 10, the problem is not the child.
It's the family.
Yeah. Probably, most likely the parents. Or the caregivers. Whoever the caregiver is, it's not the child. So I try my best to, you know, engage families, making sure that people have access to me if they have questions for me, if they have things that they need to talk about or that they need to share pertaining to that child. And sometimes even just letting them know, like, hey, if something comes up between sessions, make sure you let me know, because by the time I see the child, they probably not gonna remember, because they may gonna be moved on to something else, right? So yeah, so just making sure like it's a collective effort, right? And if I'm working with a whole family, making sure that I am creating a space that's different than whatever the dynamic is at home, right? And also making sure that I'm creating a space where everybody feels safe and everybody can feel heard. Because you have to pay attention to what the dynamics are as well in the family when you're meeting a family. Like, okay, like, oh, I see that this person kind of dominates the conversation. conversation. I see this person is like the scapegoat, or like this person kind of shies away when certain people start talking. So that's how I kind of maneuver things with families, or if I'm working with a child. If I'm working with adults, like people do have like if they need to text me or they need to email me, people do have access to me if they have questions, or if we need to check in or something like that. I do that from time to time. I don't try to make a habit of it because I do try to keep boundaries, but like I do tell people, you know, like if it's something that you absolutely need to tell me or say to me, just text me. They know that I might not respond, but at least I know for the next time I see them that this thing happened and we can talk about it or unpack whatever that thing is. Other professionals, pretty similar. Trying to make sure I keep networking with people, learning what's out there, what people are doing, letting people know what I'm doing, so that we are able to continue to connect. If you know you might do something that I'm not versed in, so I can send somebody your way, and vice versa.
That is excellent. We have a comment from Abby K. She says, "I love this." I said at the beginning this was going to be epic. I said a female licensed social worker. Clinical licensed social worker. I apologize. I'm big on titles. You went to school for that. You need every word.
I paid a lot of money for that.
And you need every word, don't you?
Everyone, every letter, every word.
Yes, Dr. Williams. So,
I'm not doing that.
So we have talked so much about our communities, and one of the barriers that you brought up was faith. And I don't know if you had a fly in here looking at my notes, but I really wanted to ask this question at the beginning, but they say the best for last. So my final, well, not final, but my question of importance to you, since we're talking about faith, is you're a minister of music. How big of a significant role does that play in mental health for you?
It's major for me. Like, that's one of the ways that I find that's one of my outlets. Music, doing what I love in church. A lot of times, you know, people don't know what I deal with on a day-to-day because I'm just a person that kind of reserve it, keep it to myself. As I said earlier, I figure it out, right? I don't recommend that, okay? I don't recommend that you do that. If you can, go talk to somebody.
Call Kanisha.
Go talk to somebody, you know? But yeah, so sometimes I may have the roughest week, get to church, or even throughout the week as I'm preparing for church or service and getting certain things together, getting music together, and it allows me to, one, step outside of myself because I also have the responsibility of thinking about other people.
You're still helping people.
Yeah, and thinking about picking things that are going to minister and speak to people. So it allows me to do that, but it also allows me to minister to myself in those moments as well. You know, because a lot of times, even when I'm doing therapy sessions or other things, I may be talking to someone, I may say something to them, and in my mind, I'm like, Kanitra, you need to remember that for yourself, right? So it is being a minister of music in general, and doing what I do at church is very therapeutic in itself for me.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, Minister of Music. This show is epic. Minister of Music, Dr. Williams, can you bless us with the chorus? Yes! We doing mental health awareness. My health capacity need to hear this.
I just want you guys to know this is not what I signed up for. I signed up to talk about mental health.
Oh, we got questions on here asking you to sing.
Who said that?
It don't matter who said it. We got it on there.
Who said that?
Me. One of them is me. Me. And it could be something so small. Because you just said it was a big factor for you. So let's help everybody that's listening.
You're making me nervous. See, now you're making me nervous.
I'll close my eyes. Everybody close their eyes.
I'm still on video.
It don't matter. Their eyes closed.
Oh, boy. Okay. I can't even think.
Whatever.
See, now I'm nervous. I'm on the spot. You got me on the spot.
Don't be nervous. This is a safe space.
He is exalted, the King is exalted, and I will praise him. He is exalted, the King is exalted, and I will praise his name. He is Lord, and forever his truth shall reign. Heaven and earth will exalt his holy name. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high.
Amen. I know everybody loved that because I felt every word of that. Oh my God. Epic. Didn't I say epic today? You are amazing. Amazing. Oh my God, you're amazing. So, Dr. Williams. What is next for Kenitra? What are your goals? What are your inspirations? If you could tell me in 2 minutes, what is next for Kenitra?
What is next? So what is next is I am in the process of getting my own private practice off the ground, doing mental health work. Part of that, under that umbrella, I am going to also be starting my practice is going to be called On Theory U. Then under that, I'm going to be starting what I'm going to be calling Faith Mental. And what that is going to be is me working with churches or faith-based communities and me coming in and bringing in mental health resources, mental health programming into those spaces. And it can be for just the individuals that go to those churches or leadership in those churches or the community that they serve at large. So that is what's next for me. And I'm excited. I hope y'all excited because I'm excited.
So, I waited till the end because typically I give pop quizzes.
Don't give me no. You already had me saying. I
Right.
gotta do a quiz too?
You do. You definitely got to do a quiz because you said that you are in the process of opening up your own practice. I salute you.
Okay.
My hat is off to you. My girl, Lord, I'm touched by that. I may have to come sit on one of your couches one day. But, have you talked to your accountant about your next step?
No, I haven't.
Shame on you. Okay, that was your pop
So
quiz
note to
question.
self, note to self. Talk to my accountant.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna call you later.
Okay. I appreciate that. And when she say later, she don't mean today. That mean like about 6 months from now. That's what she mean.
Later. That's later.
Right, but you didn't give a time. Because you didn't. And hey, I respect that. So, right now, if you could tell our audience and our listeners a tip or something to walk away with and take away from today's conversation, what would you leave them with? What would you tell them?
That's a good one. Pay attention to yourself and don't be afraid to seek help.
Pay attention to yourself and do not be afraid to seek help. With that being said, tell everyone how they can contact you. Give them social media information, email.
You can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram by my name, Kenitra Williams. Email. I do have an email. my first and last name at gmail.com. If you want to connect with me, if you want to find me for services, right now you can find me at Willis Counseling and Consulting. They have a website, wcc.com. If you, again, want to book me for services. If you want to connect with me for some other things that I mentioned at the end, as far as bringing me to your church or bringing me to your organization or anything like that, you can just reach out to me via social media.
Can you spell your name for our audience, please?
I can. So that is CANENTRA. That's my first name. My last name is Williams. So first name is CANENTRA.
Williams. Everybody got that? I do, because I'm going to definitely be reaching out. I have learned so much from you today that I just feel overwhelmed. Like, I just want to go do some more studying. I just feel that graced. And wow, this is amazing. So before we end our show, I and Anointed Accounting would like to thank you for spending time with us today on your Saturday, the last Saturday of May, and seeing that we're still in and ending the month of May with mental health awareness. And just because the month is ending doesn't mean that mental health has ended, because it's going to happen in June and July throughout the rest of the year. But to have a woman therapist come in and explain to us the dynamics, I think that was so powerful. And Anointed Accounting would like to say thank you for coming out. That is for you. That is for you.
I like gifts.
That is for you.
They keep coming.
You should be careful with that one.
It's some more? Okay. Thank you.
Now, another reason why I said this show was going to be so epic, and I told y'all at the beginning, I told you all at the beginning that I was going to say the best for last. Not only is she incorporating her own safe space for mental health awareness and opening her own company, not only is she in the business of helping people, and she's in this dominated role that's not even recognized as mentalness. Under that mental umbrella, she's still out here servicing our communities and helping people. But you also helped me today. And you may not think so, but you helped me just relinquish so much. And that word consistency sticks out. And I just appreciate that. And I know our listeners do. And the gem of that was to say, with all of this going on with Miss Williams, this is my oldest niece, my first niece, and I love her dearly. I just wanted to let everybody know that, right? Like, that was so important. But no, we really learned a lot from you. Everybody, please, if you need that assistance, if you need someone to talk to, you don't have to carry this cross by yourself. If you need someone to listen to you, to be the passenger, to sit in the car for as long as you need them to, please reach out. You can contact Anointed Accounting. And of course, we're known for handling your finances, right? But as I mentioned before, we've created a network of resources for you to be able to tap in and say, hey, Anointed Accounting, I need a realtor. Anointed Accounting, I need a car salesperson. What's more better than having that network of people that can come together to help you with your mental health illnesses, issues, that's a better word, correct? Mm-hmm. And to keep it confidential, to have a passion for what they're doing, to open up and not only allow you to be vulnerable to them, but they be vulnerable to you. The A+ to all of that is we have believers in Christ that are in this role that can also help you spiritually as well. So I just want to say thank you for coming out. Thank you for sharing that with us. Like, I had a ball with you. I will tell you, you failed your pop quiz.
Well, I said I'll call you later.
Anytime you're doing something big like that, you need to reach out to your accountant. Definitely need to do so. But we here at Anointed City County, let us know what we can do for you. We're here to support you. We're here to back you up. We're here to help you. Like, you're no longer a passenger. We're the passenger. We just want to help you. You're driving, and we want to help you.
Buckle up, okay? Listen, I drive a little crazy, so buckle up.
We want to help you get in there. We want to help you succeed beyond your point of no return, and we want to help you get there the right way. We definitely want you to be in compliance with the federal and state entities. And just for the sake of time, let me ask you, I know we've done a lot of talking all about mental health illnesses and issues. Would you say that throughout your journey of this, and just reflecting, would you say that it has had an impact on your finances?
Yeah. In a good way. I would say in a good way.
Okay.
I have learned, like, just meeting different people, talking to different people, helping different people. Like I said, a lot of times I'm telling people things that I probably need to be doing for myself, right? So in my role with Facing Forward, I'm talking to clients about paying rent. I'm talking to clients about budgeting. I'm talking to clients about, well, maybe you should wait to buy that until you do this first, because you want to stay housed, right? So in those conversations, like, understanding that, like, like, Kenitra, like, that applies to you too. Like, yes, you work every day, right? And this person may not in there on a fixed income, but you also on a fixed income because your checks don't come every day, right? So
not every day.
They don't come every day. They don't come every day. They come a couple of times a month.
That's it.
And I gotta figure it out, right? So yeah. So I would say yes, in a good way. It changed my perspective on some things, and just also understanding that, thinking about working with the homeless population, that could easily be me. That could easily be you. Homelessness has no look, right? People don't necessarily do certain things to become homeless. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just a happenstance. People lose their job, right? And they don't have savings. They didn't know to budget. They didn't know to save for a rainy day. They didn't know those things. So guess what happens?
Well, that rainy day came and wiped
their
savings.
Yep. So yeah. So in that aspect, it definitely has, working with different people has changed my perspective about how I look at a lot of things, not just finances, but a lot of things in life. So.
And that's good, because a lot of people sometimes are still stagnant, and they don't understand how, well, okay, this happened to me, so it affected me here, so I can't work. So yeah, my finances has been touched, or I did this way, maybe because I mentally prepared myself this way. Now I'm going up this way. So it could be both an increase as well as a decrease. Yeah. So to all my listeners out there, please, 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 you can reach Kenitra Williams. Right now she's Kenitra Williams, but I am a firm believer she's going to go back to school with me, and we're going to get our PhDs, and she's going to be a doctor.
You can call me doctor if you want, but I'm not going back to school, okay? It's not for me.
You can reach her on Facebook and Instagram at CANENTRA Williams, WILLIAMS. It wasn't a phone number, correct?
No.
And the email address is KenitraWilliams@gmail.com. You can also contact Anointed Accounting, and we can connect you at www.ANOINTEDACCOUNTING.com. Our number is 312-837-7219. I truly, truly hope you all enjoyed the show. I hope you all took something away from it. Our takeaway point today was, you forgot?
Oh, pay attention to yourself and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Pay attention to yourself and do not be afraid to ask for help, because it's out here. Those resources are out here. They are available. So I look forward to seeing you all next month. As we go into next month, the month of June, we are still talking about brain awareness, which is different from mental health awareness, but the month of June is dedicated to Alzheimer's and brain awareness. So I can't wait to see you all on next Saturday. Thank you all for tuning in. Please like, love, comment, and share. And I will see you next week. Great big world out there.
Bye.